What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the madness. And as you can tell, we're back. So first, question for you guys. Have you seen this movie? And if you haven't, go watch it. But things were a little crazy over here in the Middle East. I'm deployed right now, and if you watch the news, watch social media, it got a little heated for a second. So things got a little wild over here. So I couldn't make any videos, but we are back, and we're back with some gameplay. The thing that I think people enjoy the most out of the channel, between the meta breakdowns and gameplay, it's probably gameplay. It's not the old GoPro, of course, but Pixelborn Connect Pavel coming through. But if you can't tell by this background here, we're playing some Baja Blast, ladies and gentlemen. And so this video, we're going to talk about two different lists, because this is the list where I started with Baja Blast. Shout out to JP. When I found this on Dreamborn, he had like 10,000 views on there, which is awesome. And then I've made some edits, and then we have gameplay with this list, and then we have gameplay with my edits. And I'll talk about the edits and why I made them, and when we get to that list. And I'll also talk about things that I want to try, and what I'm doing with Baja Blast and why I'm even playing it. JP calls it stacks. That's, I guess someone explained it to me. You're essentially playing a deck that is working to not let other people play cards, and that's stacks. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? But it's just been a lot of fun, and I've been pushing Amber Steel for the longest time, and I wanted to play something that I thought could be good into the wide meta, that is good into Amber Steel, that is good into Red Blue, that is good into Red Purple, these decks that are coming up that are making up the meta. And so I've always liked Baja Blast. I made a video on it where I lost and I hated it, but I've always liked the idea of it. And a shout out to my buddy Coffin over in Flower Farm. He had the perfect description of it. It's like putting together a puzzle when you win. And I just think the deck is like that. It's like a puzzle where there's a lot of different lines you can do with a lot of different things, and it comes together to make this beautiful masterpiece, and you get a win out of it. With that being said, it's a slow deck. Okay, it's a very slow deck. There's a lot of different lines that you can play. There's a lot going on when you are playing it, so keep those things in mind. But what is this list in particular doing? When we look at this list, it's not what we've seen in past sets. We saw the Mother Gothels, we saw the evasive genies, we saw the Peter Pans that came and exerted, and your opponent couldn't gain lore unless they challenged them. Well, now we're doing things a little bit different. Now we're going really hard into getting that Clarabelle down, to getting this Basil down if you need it, to lock things out that way. But we have lots of dig, we have lots of bounce going on, and we have, getting the muses down to help against aggro, the cloud kicker to help against aggro. And then ultimately we're digging for that Clarabelle to gain the board back, and or to gain our hand back so we can gain the board back, do a huge bounce turn, we play Bend to My Will, and then we just control the game from there on out. And so it's like it's the ultimate control deck. Like, there's so much control going on and so much digging going on, and I just found it to be fun. And when we look at this list, right, we've got our 8 ramp cards with the Tipo and the Sail. We've got Kit that comes in, it can bounce things, and also he can just be a singer, right? He can sing, this Mother Knows Best, Heffalumps, and Woozles, which both really good important cards. We have our Bell plus Popsicle, and then we have Muses that is helping you bounce things. The Bell, one thing to note, and I think this comes up in one of my games, is Bell is not a turn 1, right? You're not singing anything on turn 1. There's never going to be a world where you have to sing a song on turn 1 or going into your turn 2. It's just not going to happen. So, like, it's just not, I wouldn't recommend it, right? You can make excuses, right, where you do pop and then you play Bell on turn 1, and then you play Tipo on turn 2, and then you sing Mother Knows Best to bounce the Tipo so you could ramp a little bit more. So maybe there's an argument, right? But so that is an option. Again, lines. Muses helps you control the board, but also Muses lets you bounce things like Cloud Kicker in Tipo, lets you bounce Lady Tremaine, which is huge because you get this Lady Tremaine and Lady Tremaine and Muses down. Now you can bounce Lady Tremaine. You play Lady Tremaine. She brings back your welcome. You sing your welcome with Muses, and then you bounce Lady Tremaine, so then you can play her again, and you can do things like that. Or if you have a little bit of time, like against Red Blue, you can play Bend to My Will, then play Lady Tremaine to get Bend to My Will back, and then you bounce Lady Tremaine with something, and then you play her to get your welcome back, and then you can keep doing that combo over and over and over again. So really good line there as well. Of course, Grandma Tala is just letting you dig. It's singing, How Far I'll Go and You're Welcome. Kita, though, this is the change from JP's list. Is I cut one Develop and one Tamatoa to add in Kita, and the reason for Kita is because she lets me A, dig, which I really enjoy, and B, she lets me, really put a big beat down on Green Steel. And, I have a Green Steel gameplay video, and I don't think she actually comes up in it. But the point of it is that I can go ahead and I can play Muses on 4. I can play Kita on 4. And then Kita is going to let me ramp without, losing cards in my hand. So I can go Kita on 4 and then I can ink on turn 5. Or I don't even have to do that because I can go Kita on 4. Or I guess I do have to ink. So I go Kita on 4, I ink on turn 5, and then I use Kita's effect to go to 6 ink, and then the next turn I get Clarabelle down without emptying my hand of a bunch of stuff. So Kita is doing a lot of the same things that Donald Duck is doing, except Donald Duck is doing it the turn he comes down. So I do like his way of doing it more, whereas Kita, she has the other benefit of being Ward. So with Ward, you can lay her on down on turn 4 or turn 3 if you used ramp, and then turn 4 you play Muses, and Kita is surviving almost always, so she can sing a song and then bounce something with Muses, which is really good as well. Whereas Grandma Tala can't do that against Steel Song because they just blow up Grandma Tala. So Basil is the other one, and this one I was really iffy on at first, but he's really turned into quite the monster. And he's questing for 2, which is great, but when he comes down, he has that genie effect where you just bounce something to your opponent's hand, and then if you have 2, then you bounce something to your opponent's hand, and then the next turn you play the other one, you bounce it, and then you quest with Basil, and then they have to discard it. And this is all, of course, after you've played Bend to My Will. And then the rest of it, you're just digging. You have your Clarabelle, Heffalumps and Woozles. You can sing with Tipo. It keeps your opponent from questing, so it's good into the aggro decks that are really popular. And then just doing big things. You'll notice only 3 How Far I'll Goes, and so a lot of people might question this because of how good it is, but at the same time, it's an uninkable, so the deck only has 10 uninkables right now, and that's felt really good. And Mother Knows Best is it's rough because unless you have Tipo, Green Steel is going to rip it out of your hand, but, How Far I'll Go, I don't know. 3 just feels good. 3 feels really good, and a 4th isn't worth replacing something else in the list, in my opinion. Not when I'm running 8, 9, 10 4 drops. The 3 Donald Ducks that are coming down on turn 4, things like that. Now, let's look really quick at things that I've changed and the reason for these changes. So you'll notice no Pops and no Tamatoas. Now, there were no Tamatoas in the previous list, but there were Pops and Bells. And in a meta where there's so much aggro, why have I removed the Pops and the Bells? Well, ultimately, the Bell isn't clearing Daisy, right? The Bell isn't clearing Rhino. Now, the Bell can clear something like a Cinderella. The Bell can clear something like the Smee and the Lady and the Piglet and things like that. But if your opponent starts turn 1 Cindy, turn 2 Smee, congratulations, you have a Bell down, which is great. But turn 3, they're going to play a card and then just blast your Bell, and it doesn't matter. So maybe you slowed them down for a turn or 2, but you also slowed them down at the cost of losing an ink. So I found that a lot of the time I was never even playing Bell because it wasn't worth losing the ink in the early game. I needed that ink. I needed Bell to be a card that I could put down into my ink pile to get to the cards that really matter. The cards like Muses and Tala and Donald Duck and Clarabelle. Those are the cards that matter. The 3-cost 3/3 that may do something isn't super important. And I just didn't enjoy it. If anything, I liked the pops. I hated the Bell. So that's something we're going to talk about when we get to tech options on the next slide. But you'll notice, what did I add? I added the 3 Louis, and I've added 4 Kit Cloud Kickers and 4 Develop Your Brains. Or I went up to 4 and 4. And the reason for this is because the combo pieces are everything in this deck. The Lady Tremaine and Muses, getting up to Clarabelle, the Basil Lock, getting the cards that you need on turn 1. Like, worst case scenario, you don't have a turn 2 ramp. So on turn 1, now you can develop, which is huge. That gives you so many more opportunities. Well, 2 more opportunities to see your ramp. The Louis comes in. It helps slow down aggro. That is really nice. It's another character, so you can get questing. Even if it's one at a time, a lot of the time that's just all you need. And so that feels really good. It slows your opponent down. It makes it so they can't quest. Sometimes they don't have a song. So now that Louis, you use it on Genie, right? And now Genie is attacking into the Louis, and that feels really good. Or they bounce it with Fox. That's perfectly fine as well, because they're going to lose the Fox, and they're going to replay the Genie the next turn and draw another card, which feeds our Clarabelle. The 4 Kit Cloud Kickers, just really good into Amber Steel, just really, really good. Develops, just digging. So this deck, we're just digging for the combo pieces, and it feels good. So you're going to see 2 gameplays with this one. I don't know if you ever see Louis come down. I'll be honest. So this is, I've liked him in games where I've gotten to play him, but he is definitely on the chopping block. But he's felt good slowing down aggro decks. I'll be honest, he's felt really good slowing down aggro decks. So let's talk about tech options, things that I still want to try that I haven't tried yet. And those tech options, I want to see some. Okay, I'm not in the way, so I can make myself smaller though. So those tech options that I want to talk about are these ones right here. These are the things that I still want to try. McDuck Manors, I'm a huge fan of McDuck Manor in this deck, in Baja Blast. I think you get to the point where you're just controlling the game, and then you just slam down a manor, and then you can use the rest of your turns just controlling the board. I'm a huge fan of McDuck Manor. I haven't found a way to fit it back in this particular list, but I'll probably be testing it at some point. It's just a good card. You guys have seen it work in Red Blue. You've seen it work previously in Baja Blast, and I love the card. Clarabelle, ultimately I like Clarabelle just because she allows for a turn, against non-steel decks. She allows for a turn 5 Clarabelle, which is really good and really easy, or a turn, essentially getting to play her for the 6 ink, right? So let's say we do play Clarabelle on turn 1, then we ramp on turn 2, so we can end up playing her on turn 4, which is super good. Or against steel decks, you play her on turn 6 and then shift the Clarabelle all in one turn. So you get her down 1 turn earlier, which can be a big deal. All right, that can be, a really, really big deal. Fred, I like Fred because he quests for 3 and he helps me find Clarabelle. Whenever this character quests, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a Floodborn character card. Put that card into your hand and shuffle the rest of your deck. So we're playing a lot of visions, right? We're playing 4 visions, 4 Talas, 4 develops. All of those cards are putting cards on the bottom of my deck that I might want. So now when I play something like Fred allows me to shuffle my deck and mix all that up. So I lose the knowledge of what's on the bottom of my deck, but I do gain getting those cards back. And he quests for 3, again, really good stat line, 5/6. I'd prefer a 4/6, but 5/6 is good. And he gets me Clarabelle, a huge card. Tamito and Popsicle, One issue with this deck is it's really slow. I mentioned that. So Tamatoa is something that can fight for board, but also he's questing for 2, and then Popsicle is just letting you cycle. So more develop your brains, more vision of really weak visions, of really weak Grammatala, things like that. So it just, the combo feels good. And if I was gonna do it, I'd probably run 8, or 4 and 3 maybe. But that feels bad without Bell. But again, I just don't care for Bell. I really don't like Bell. So I don't know if it's worth trying to fit these 7 cards in that way. And then Emerald Chromicon. I think Emerald Chromicon's a fun idea. Being able to bounce your stuff, right? I think it has a lot of possibility because your opponent's trying to clear your board, so you can bounce characters back to their hand to feed your Clarabelle. You can bounce characters back to your hand, like my own hand, to do whatever I want with. So that's really entertaining as well. Will it make the cut? It's an uninkable, so that's hard. And then against some of our harder matchups like Amber Steel Aggro or Amber Steel Rhino, they're not going to attack our characters anyways because they're just going to be trying to quest out, so it doesn't really do much for us there either. So I don't know, we'll see, but I definitely want to play with it. But the cards that I'm most interested in would be this top row. These are the ones that I really care about. So with that being said, this isn't a video going super in depth on all the lines and things like that. I could do something like that, but again, you're going to watch in the gameplay videos that I still have a lot to learn with the deck. There's just so many different things, and it doesn't help that Pixelborn Connect is amazing, and huge shout out to Pavel. But when I'm playing with the streamer screen so I can show my hands to you guys, there's not a lot of room, so it makes things really hectic when I'm trying to mess with my hand and mess with ink and all this stuff in such a small area. So, and it can get really crazy sometimes. But with that, let's jump into the first gameplay. These are the matches I'll be showing. It's all best of 1. It's Amber Steel on the play with me on the play, Green Steel with me on the play, and then Red Purple Evasive with me on the draw. And I know people vote. I asked you guys, what would you rather see, best of 3 and best of 1? Because of my limited time and because my time is so sporadic sometimes, these 3 games took me 3 days. So I realized that I just don't have time to sit down and do best of 3, especially with something like Baja Blast. So we're going to do best of 1s. It's not the same, I apologize, but there's still some good things to learn. So ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into that first match. Stick around. All right, so here we go, and this is Green Blue versus Amber Steel. Now, at the time, I did not know what this was, right? So all these games are going to be blind, and what is the number one thing I care about when I'm going into any game, whether it's blind, whether it's on the draw, on the play, if it's red, blue, blurple, it doesn't matter. The one thing that matters is seeing ramp. You don't lose if you don't see it, but your win rate will drastically go down if you do not see your turn 2 ramp. So there are games where I just mill 7 because I really need to see that ramp. So in this list, what do I care about? Now, this is one of my earlier games with blue-green, so and this is also the different list. This is not with the bells and the pops, but what do I care about in this hand? I believe what I'll end up keeping is probably the bell and Clarabelle. In hindsight, what I should keep is the develop and the bell and send everything else back. I think I should only keep the develop. I think I should send 6 back and keep the develop. And the reason for keeping the develop is because it lets me dig for ramp, right? And that's what I care about. So I think you can send back 7 or you can send back 6 and keep the develop. But let's see what I actually do. All right. So we got the 2 Kitas. So there go those Hefflums. Oh no. All right. So looks like I'm going to keep 3. And here's my mistake, right? All right. I do like that I did that. So here was my thinking by sending back these 5 is that if I miss the turn 2 ramp, then I can get the ramp with Kita. And if I miss if I do get the turn 2 ramp, then Kita comes out on turn 3 and ramps me closer to Clarabelle. So it's not a bad decision to keep Kita, but at the same time, I really needed to try and get that turn 2 ramp, because now I'm going to be a sitting duck for the first 3 turns. I do have Kit, which does feel nice. That was a good draw. And I have Visions on turn 2. So at least I'm going to be able to do something. So we ink the Clarabelle and we pass. And if I would have kept that Develop, I could be playing Develop right now to do a little digging. So, and there's the Daisy. And at this point, it's feeling really bad that I don't have ramp. But the Muses does help a lot. I do fix this glare issue in a future game. So we ink the Basil, we go Visions. We're just digging now and looking for a song would be nice here. That Muses right there is going to be super nice, because against aggro, Muses is what saves the day. Muses is everything against aggro. Being able to just bounce their cards continuously and over and over and over again, send them back to their hand, and then when you finally get that Clarabelle down, your Clarabelle is just drawing you a whole bunch of cards. You'll see the Tipo there. Tipo, Grammatala, Popsicle, and something else. I considered the Tipo just to get the ramp down, but ultimately I decide I don't need it, because my turn 3 can be Kit, and then turn 4 can be Muses, and I have the Singer 3 down, and then I have a Singer 4 down, and then the next turn I can play Muses to then bounce 2 cards with You're Welcome. So bouncing 3 cards is going to be pretty nice, and there's another You're Welcome. So I probably ink Kita, right? Yep. And Kit, and hopefully I Kit the Piglet. Nice. All right, good move there. So things are going pretty well, actually. Daisy drawing me some characters would be really nice, because I don't want to ink any of the cards in my hand. So if Daisy could draw me something here, that would be ideal. Okay, so there's the Let the Storm Rage On, which tells me that he's bricked at this point. So the fact that a third Muses. So the fact that he had to let the Storm Rage on tells me that he must have a pretty bricked hand, if that's what he had to do with his turn 3, because he shouldn't care about a Kit, right? He wants to be going aggro. So we ink the Muses to play another Muses, and in retrospect, I probably could have just inked the Kit, and kept the Muses, right? But I think it's fine. So we're going into turn 4 now, and I'm not sure what that was. I think that was the dog, the quest for 4 dogs. So at this point, I'm thinking that he's on Earl's aggro list. Earl had an aggro Rhino list very similar to mine, where he runs the dogs instead of the princes, I believe. So that's what I figured I'm up against. I draw a Basil here, so I probably ink the Kit. Or, okay, so one or the other, which is the move here. Okay, so I ink the Kit, because Basil can bounce anything, right? I get the Muses down, and now I can start going crazy. And so You're Welcome, and I should You're Welcome the Smee. Yep. And then I can bounce both characters, which is... Now I'm in the driver's seat. Sure, he's going to draw a lot of cards. I'm only going to be at 5 ink here, but I'm 2 turns away from getting my Clarabelle down, and I have another You're Welcome. So I'm going to be able to bounce 3 characters this next turn. So things are feeling really good. I'm going to be able to hold him back for a minute here. So we see Daisy, when we see Piglet, and perfect. All right. And then I'm sure, and then a dock. So, all right, there we go. So now we have the ability to bounce his entire hand again while I try and get up to 7 ink to start doing that. And oh my goodness gracious. So You're Welcome something. Hopefully You're Welcoming the Piglet is going to be the right move. Piglet. Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about it. So the answer is going to be the Piglet. And the reason for that is because I don't want him to continue to play that Piglet and eventually get to the point where he can draw or gain 3 lore. So we do the Piglet. That feels fine. I don't care if he ever plays Doc. And maybe I should have, because he could use Doc to just discard his hand to go to 2. But if he does that, then that's also fine. That's also, helping me a lot. So I don't mind that decision either. So at this point, if I can see an Inkable on my next turn, then I'm feeling really good that this game is just kind of over at this point, because an Inkable lets me bounce 3 cards, play a Clarabelle. He draws 2 more cards, and I draw a bunch with Clarabelle. So, all right, there's the Piglet and a Vinny. All right. So, and this is when, Vinny, again, not something I'm super worried about with Baja Blast, because that was not what I wanted to see here. But it's not the end of the world, because I can sing that card. It takes me to 7 ink for next turn, and I can bounce 2 characters. Mother, oh goodness gracious, Mother knows best coming in. Super nice here. I hopefully bounce back the Piglet. That was silly of me. That was a huge misplay. I should have bounced back the Piglet and the Vinny, let him, or the Daisy, but by bouncing back the Vinny, Daisy potentially draws me a card, which is really nice. So, and I need the extra characters, but by bouncing back the Daisy, he only gains 1 lore. But not bouncing the Piglet was very silly of me. That was a huge misplay on my part. Don't be like me. But we see the Goofy come down, and very excited about this. So if we see a Doc come down, no Doc effect. He does quest. No. He should quest for 3 here to go to 9. I understand. Oh, and he doesn't. Oh my goodness. And another Mother's Knows Best. What a. Ugh. But it. Oh, man. Okay, so we get the Clarabelle down. Thanks to that, How Far I'll Go last turn. We use Muses. We sing You're Welcome on the Goofy. And then we bounce, hopefully, the Piglet and the Daisy this time. And then if I really wanted to, I could bounce the other character. That way I draw a whole bunch off of the Clarabelle, and hopefully drawing into more songs, knowing that I also have Mother Gothel, so Mother Gothel can start, singing or gaining me songs back as well. And I wouldn't be upset about that. So we do bounce the Daisy. Feels very fine and dandy. And I guess not questing with the Piglet wasn't the worst thing in the world, because I could have traded into it. So, but here I draw 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 cards. So, geez, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. I drew 7 cards. Oh my goodness. So, all right. So he's going to go super wide here. But with another Muses, at this point, I can afford to play Muses, play Bell, or I could play Muses and Vision, and then next turn just bounce his entire hand and bend to my will. So let's see how I do this. You can play it super patiently, or just go to town now. And I think playing it patiently is the move. I should start with Visions. I think starting with Visions would be the best choice. Oh, so I don't decide to be patient. But I do get to bounce. See, I should have played Muses first, so I could bounce 3 characters. All right, so we send back 2. So this is another reason that blue-green is a really slow deck, is because you have to. All right, so I bounced 2 more characters this whole time. Oh, I guess I am on 7 ink, so I can bend to my will this turn. So, but this is another thing where there's a lot of lines because I could have done this turn very differently. I could have played muses, right? But I think ultimately I did it right because I do have 7 ink to play bin to my will this turn. Or I could have played muses and visions and I could have bounced everything the next turn and then been to my will. But this was ultimately the right choice. I see what I did here. I got lucky that I saw a bunch of songs, but I also had 2 songs in hand to bounce most of his hand back. So don't listen to me. This was a good play on my part. So we go 7, bend to my will. So he loses that whole hand, and now he's top decking, and I'm representing 4 lower per turn, and he's representing 1. So the writing's on the wall at this point. All right, and we are back with the next game, and this is the gentleman playing green steel. He is, I did see this afterwards. He is, really high up on the Pixelborn Connect ladder. So there is that, he's not a chump with green steel. He is, currently top 10. I don't want to reveal who he is. But so it was a good game. I got the cards I really wanted to see, which made it a lot easier, and I am on the play. But it showcased kind of that the deck can do well against, green steel. If you get Clarabelle down, and that's really the big thing, right? You have to get this particular cards that you need to be able to get that Clarabelle down early, because Clarabelle is what really just wins you games in this matchup, because you don't care if they draw a bunch off of their Diablo, because you're just going to draw a bunch off of your Clarabelle the next turn, and then you're just hoping to get to that bend to my will, where you bend to my will, and then you don't draw any more off of Clarabelle, and they don't get to draw any cards either. So it feels really good. So the things that I really want to see, of course, ramp, but I really, really, really want to see Sail the Azurite Sea. I really want to see Kita. And those are going to be the 2 big cards I want to see. I'm not even upset about seeing Donald Duck either. Essentially, cards that are helping me get to Clarabelle without emptying my hand. And you will see, and we'll talk about it, I do make a really greedy misplay here, and I don't get punished. And I got really lucky for that. So you see my 7. Again, I'm happy with Develop. That is a pretty good one in this case. And then Muses, I'm happy with that as well. So by sending back 5, that's really good odds. I run 8 ramp cards. So I'm not big on the calculators. I always mess them up, but that's a pretty high chance to see a ramp when I'm already down 7 cards in a 60-card deck. So I'm feeling pretty good about my chances here to see at least 1. I like Muses on the blind into most matchups because it's how you control the game. And again, Develop just helps you dig a little bit more for a 2-drop and hopefully ramp. So we see that. Keep the Develop, keep the Muses. We're taking 5, and there we go. There is our Tipo. Oh, there's our Sail that we wanted to see even more than Tipo. So with that being said, I'm also not afraid to go Sail into Tipo, because that sends me that gets me so much ramp so quickly. If it's 2 Sails, that's generally the route I'm going to take if I have a Clarabelle in hand, because getting to Clarabelle is a huge swing turn for you. So let's move forward a little. Oh no, here we go. Ink the Tipo, because I know I'm not going to want to do that, and we go Develop. And the reason I know I don't want to do that is because I do want to keep the Visions just in case. And what 2 cards are there? Hey, you're welcome, and Mother Knows Best. Now, the reason that I do this, You're Welcome draws through cards for Clarabelle, but also I don't want to, when I inked that Tipo, I don't want to keep uninkable songs. There's a lot of green running around, a lot of green purple, a lot of green steel, so Ursula is a really popular card. So keeping Mother Knows Best without a Tipo is really risky. It's a really, really risky choice. So, all right, feeling pretty good. Doing all right. All right, let's see how we go here. He inks the Big Pete, and I now know he's on green steel. Yay for dual ink. So we see another Sail, and oh boy, we feel pretty good. So we go Sail, and draw. We get rid of the inkable song. And here I hopefully ink the Heffalumps. Yes. And so again, I'm inking my songs because I don't want him to Ursula 2-drop and steal that ink from me. So right now, if he plays Ursula 2-drop, he's playing a dead card. Like it will serve him no purpose whatsoever. But he drops a Smee. We're fine with that. You know, it's potentially 6 ink because we're not going to do anything to it. We see the Heffalumps and another free ink. So hopefully what we do here is we go ink the Heffalumps, play Sail. But let's see how we rock and roll. Because we can ink the Heffalumps, play Sail, ink something else, and play a Visions. But we don't even have to do that. Again, we're not trying. All right, so there's the Louis. And this is where I got super greedy, and this is where I got super greedy and I could have been punished really hard. So I ink the Sail, or I ink the Visions, and I play the Louis. Now, why was this a bad choice? So I am currently on 5 ink. So if I would have just kept the Louis in hand, he would have been really hard pressed to get rid of my entire hand and steal that Clarabelle. It's very possible, right? It's very doable, but at the same time, the worst that's going to happen is he gains 6 ink with the Smee. I'm not super worried about that. What I am worried about is not being able to play Clarabelle. So I shouldn't have done it, right? It was just a really bad move on my part. Here, that's not good seeing that Ursula, because that Ursula represents a lot of ability to discard, right? So Sudden Chill comes down, things I just don't want her to be able to do. So I'm going to Visions here, searching for a Mother Knows Best or a Kit. And it looks like I do not see either one of those, but you're welcome. I do have 4 ink left, so I can sing You're Welcome on that Ursula, and that also, slows down the discard. So I opt to take that card, which is the right move. It's the right move here, because if he has a Sudden Chill in hand, then he discards 2 cards. So I could discard the Muses and the You're Welcome, or I can just get rid of the Ursula. And now he has to play two forms of discard. If he doesn't play 2 forms of discard, then there's a good chance it's just game over at this point when I get that Clarabelle down. But you'll see, this was a 30-minute game, so there's still 23 minutes left. So you'll see that it wasn't quite game over. But let's go ahead and fast forward it a little bit, maybe. I wish you could fast forward 10. Okay, so there we go. We see a peak come down, and I'll try going through this a little bit quicker because these blue-green matchups are really long. Okay, so the peak comes down. We see an inkable. We ink the Muses, play the Clarabelle, and now we get to start drawing, and that makes us super happy. So if we go 1.5, that's a little bit better. Let me know if this isn't what you guys want to see. But we get to draw a whole bunch. We draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we do unfortunately see an uninkable song. Not what we wanted. We didn't really want to see any songs there, to be honest. Especially Mother Knows Best, because what are we gonna bounce? We're never gonna bounce Pete, because, well, like, it's You're Welcome is how we want to deal with Pete's. So that's okay though. We're okay. We're doing fine. Let's go ahead and... All right, Prince John and Ursula. So now he gets to draw here. So this doesn't feel bad, right? Because he's just feeding Clarabelle. Yes, he gets to draw, but so do I at this point. Like, for every card that he's drawing, I'm also drawing a card off of that Clarabelle. So here, the Sudden Chill was interesting, but again, he's drawing and emptying my hand, so that's a big deal. I hold on to the Basil just in case there's something, he plays something that I just don't want him to have. So let's see, we draw Mother Knows Best comes down. So we could bounce something if we really wanted to. Playing the Muses feels good. Basil feels fine. Like there, we have a ton of options here. So not unhappy about any of our potential options. So hopefully, I think we're gonna go the Muses just to develop a board. All right, just thinking through my choices. Okay, so we do Sail just to draw. Get rid of that. And then we go 4 for Muses. And then do I double ink is the question. Do I double ink so I can go ahead and draw a bunch off of Clarabelle? We take the Pete out, okay. We ink Basil. And then here I consider, do I want to ink the Vision or and get the extra draw? And I think hopefully I ink it. I see the argument of not, but by inking it, I get the extra ink for future turns. And on top of that, I get to draw an extra card anyways. So here he's asking how I ink twice. So I'm explaining the Sail. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8. We played the Sail for 2. 1, 2, yeah. Okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine. So, la-di-da-da. And then do I bounce something? And I think I do. Do I get rid of the 1 card? No, probably not, because I don't want Ursula to just... No, okay, so I don't. So, draw 3 cards. Feels good. Okay. And there's my bend to my will. So now I have the ability to just start controlling, like, get him down to top deck mode, and feels really good. So we see the Prince John come, and he goes ahead and clears the Clarabelle. So that feels really good. He gets a draw out of it. He clears, a huge card for me, right? Clarabelle, she's pretty big cow. So here we have to decide what are we gonna get rid of. How far I'll go lets me dig. Mother Knows Best lets me bounce something. Both, good arguments to keep. So we get rid of the Mother Knows Best though, and then now we're going into our bend to my will turn. The question is, do I want to Clarabelle or do I want to bend to my will? The advantage of Clarabelle is that I would get to draw a bunch of cards, right? Especially because he just got rid of my how far I'll go. So, and he has a lot of cards. So if I go ahead and play the Clarabelle, then I'm drawing a lot of cards, and that is something to consider. The only thing I have to be worried about is if he runs the Beyond the Horizon. So that could be really dangerous as well. But I think the best move here, and it looks like that's what I'm going to do. I take out the Prince John, okay? And then the best move here, it was unfortunate that I didn't have another ink, because if I had another ink, I could go Clarabelle and Kit. But, all right, I do use Bend to My Will, and I don't know if that was the right move. I think I could have played Clarabelle to just build a bigger board, but I also didn't have a lot of bounces, so I think that move is fine. He has to trade into it, so he loses his board. He does top deck a Dock, which is a really great top deck. That phenomenal top deck right there. After you just lose your hand, you get a nice, draw into a Diablo, which a Diablo, another really good top deck off of losing your entire hand. Luckily, I have Kit Cloud Kicker, so Kit can come in, start, bounce that for this turn, so it slows things down. I have a Basil now that can come down to bounce Diablo when he plays it again the next turn, so that feels really good. So looks like, but I don't do because I can Clarabelle and Kit. So we bounce that, we play the Clarabelle, I get to draw 1 card, and is it 1? Yep, 1 card, and I showed it to him on accident. So but another Clarabelle, that feels really good. 2 cards in hand. He can most likely just empty his hand here. Only on 6 ink, so he can at least play the Diablo and something else probably. So Sudden chill. Okay. Yep. I want to keep I want to keep the Lady Tremaine because I want to bring back Your Welcome, and that's why I'm holding on to her at this point. So I can just go ahead and play Lady Tremaine and Kit Cloud Kicker. So Kit lets me bounce something back to his hand. Feels really good. It doesn't matter what it is because I'm going to play Lady Tremaine to dig for Your Welcome, most likely. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 6. And then what do I take here? I'm assuming You're Welcome, so I can draw a whole bunch of cards. So I take Your Welcome, sing Your Welcome. I should have revealed it, but it's the only card in my hand. So I mean, I guess that kind of just explains it. So, and then quest with Kit and pass, and I get to draw a bunch of cards. Hopefully, let's see, how many do we draw? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cards. All right. Louis feels good. Grandmatala feels great, letting me dig. It's more characters down. That Louis being able to, you know, I'm trying to fix the glare. So, all right. So at this point in my head, I have to dig for, some kind of removal for that Ursula. So I'm looking for Mother Knows Best. I'm looking for, Mother Knows Best is really good here. Kit is really good here. So Grandma Tala, again, looking for a song. How Far I'll Go is not going to do it, but it lets me dig a little bit more. So we sing How Far I'll Go again. And this is one of the things I like, right? Like, I like that I can dig for answers. And I know what's in my deck. And I know what's at the bottom of my deck. So I can just start digging for all the things that I need to see. And I don't know. I find it a lot of fun. And this is the power of this deck. Look how many cards I've gone through. I went through so many cards. And it doesn't even come down to a lot of luck to find it. Because with how many cards I dug through, he wants me to count my ramp here, which is fine. Oh, he wants to see my discard. Okay. So, but I dug through what, 7 or 6 cards, maybe 8 cards. So it's kind of like Red Blue Burn, where they can just dig for their answers, and I like it. I like being able to do that. It's just the power of the deck. So here, let's see. Going to quest for 1, 2, 3 on 11 ink, and let's see how many cards if I get to draw any. 1, 2. Oh, that's my ink. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to draw any that turn, which is because he's only got 3 cards in hand. But I have a huge board at this point. Things are feeling really good for me, and I'm not super upset with where we're at right now. So let's see. We can go ahead, fast forward it a little bit. Click here. Nope. Okay. He's doing some math. So we'll go ahead, fast forward it a little bit while he thinks through his move, plays the beast. At this point, because he needs to remove the Clarabelle, right? Because I can't keep drawing cards. At the same time, if I keep drawing cards, then he gets to keep drawing cards. So strength does come down. At first, a little bit of confusion, but no, he wants the Clarabelle, and then he trades both characters into the Clarabelle. So takes those out. And then things are looking good for him. Beast is going to be drawing him cards. Diablo is going to be drawing him cards. So he draws here. Perfect. Good, you know. So most likely going to play the Clarabelle this turn. So we sail to draw. He draws 1. All right, we do play Visions. I think I'm just looking for some dig at this point. Like, I get rid of the Beast or get rid of the Diablo, either one. Ultimately, the Beast, I just don't want him to have the trade power. I don't want, like, kits. I'm questing really well right now, so I just don't want him to have that ability to trade into my stuff. Meanwhile, I'm still on 7 ink, so I can play the Clarabelle. I can use the You're Welcome on the Beast, hopefully. Nice. Okay. He draws 2. I'm going to be down to 1 card, so I draw a lot here. All right. We'll go back a second so we can see how many we draw. We draw 4 cards, so he draws 4 cards off of Diablo, which feeds my Clarabelle a lot, like I said. So, and I'm on 8, and I'm representing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on board right now. So Ursula comes in. We've got Mother Knows Best, and You're Welcome that he can steal with that. So, all right. This light, we're going to... Nope, not brighter. We're going to turn it down a little bit. Okay. So he takes the You're Welcome. Feels good. At this point, though, I'm feeling pretty confident in my position. Green Steel doesn't have a lot of ways to deal with this many characters. They could be on the Tinkerbell package, but we haven't seen a Morph, or a Tinkerbell for that matter. So I just don't think he is. We've only seen him play 1 Pete, but he's also inked, I think, 2 Big Petes, so we don't really have to worry about that. So even if he gets to that point, now double Ursula does represent a lot of damage. That's 2 Strengths of a Raging Fire that could clear 4 cards, right? So that could be pretty disastrous if he can make that Strength of Raging Fire that strong. But ultimately, when I see the Basil. Actually, I want to go back. We go for... Okay, all right. Whew. I thought I played Grandma Tala like a Visions. Okay, all right. That made me nervous. So we go 7 for the Basil to bounce the Ursula. And then we ink the Tipo. We play the Mother Knows Best. Bounce the other Ursula. And now we can quest out. And at this point, that's game over. There's just nothing Green Steel can do at this point. So Basil coming in, again, we have so many cards in our deck that can bounce stuff. There's just so much opportunity in this list to be able to control the board. And that's, again, the stacks idea, from what I understand, is just control the board so they don't get to play and you control the game that way. So that's that game. We've got one more game. We're going to go through it and yeah, we'll talk about it. All right, so our last game. Again, this is blind. I did think I was on the draw, but apparently I'm on the play. So I'm on the play for all 3 of these games. I'll have to get some on the draw footage for the next video. But yeah, this was another game. This ended up being against red purple. And I will say that if you have a lot of red purple in your meta, green blue just decimates red purple. Like it's not even a fair fight. Like, it's ridiculous. It is. A lot of their stuff is 2 or lower, so Muses bounces it over and over again. You have to worry about half sharks, but when you have your welcomes and Mother Knows Bests and other things, you can just control their board so well. And then what happens is they have to draw all these cards, right, so they can keep their engine going and things like that. But they get up there, they're drawing cards, you're bouncing things back to the hand, you play your Clarabelle, you draw a bunch of cards, you play Bend to My Will. And then now they're stuck top decking, hoping to get a Be Prepared, while you hopefully drew enough cards with Clarabelle to be able to get that win and keep going wide. And that's ultimately, spoiler, what happens here. But looking at my hand, It's not a great hand, right? Again, we're blind, so this is not anything that we want to see. So like this is a sin back. This is a sin back 7 or 6. And the reason I say 6 is because Louis is a good aggro card if you don't see ramp. So I do strongly consider Louis. I have this one at ×2 speed because it is another 20-minute video. So just gonna get through it a little bit. So, but ultimately making sure, and I ultimately just sin back 7. Again, we want to see ramp, no muses. Like there was really nothing in that hand that we're super like keen on keeping. So there we go. We send back 7, our fabled 7, and this is our new hand. So when we look at it, let's go back. Okay, so there's our turn 2 ramp. Perfect. That's what we wanted. Uninkable, how far I'll go with no Tipo feels really bad. So at this point, I'm hoping that he's not green steel because he could really hurt. Because if he plays Diablo on turn 1, I just ink the how far I'll go, but there's just nothing I can do for, sorry, ink the you're welcome, nothing I can do for the how far I'll go. So, but that's okay. We should be fine. Ink the Basil, pass. Bam, what a great start. What a great start. All right. If you like playing a turn 1 every game, don't play green blue. Okay, just don't do it. All right, so we see the Diablo come down, and at this point we know they're on purple, which could be anything. Purple steel is super popular right now, blurple and red purple. So we don't know a lot. I don't know. Did they? No, it was an Elsa. So yeah, we see the sale and 3 ink, pass. Next turn, we have the option. Okay, so they're on red purple now. We're feeling really good. Right there, if we get a muses down, we can bounce both those characters. On this turn, though, we have the option of going Kita or how far I'll go. So ultimately, the mother knows best is unfortunate. So ultimately, the reason we do it this way is that we drew mother knows best. And drawing mother knows best means that we lose an inkable. So we ink the Kita because they're both essentially doing the same thing. So we ink the Kita so we can play the uninkable. So that's, because if we didn't do that, then we risk bricking pretty hard, and we don't want that. So now next turn, and we know that he's not going, red purple is not going anywhere fast. They don't run Flynn Rider anymore, so you don't need to worry about them getting a bunch of lore really quick. So now we can play the Donald Duck and ink something, and we're playing Clarabelle the next turn. So that feels really good. But now that we draw the muses, we also don't have to do that. When we have all these songs, we can ink this Donald Duck because we have Kit for next turn to go to 7 ink. We play the muses, go to 6 ink, pass turn. And we're in a really good spot. He's questing for 3. We don't care because they're not on Flynn and Sizu anymore. So they're just not going anywhere fast. So play the music. We got the muses. Mother knows best. So another song. So we ink and we play the Clarabelle and we play You're Welcome. And now the You're Welcome, you could do a couple things with this, but there's one good choice, and the good choice is the Madame Medusa. Now, you want to get rid of the card that you can't bounce, right? And they can also trade into the muses. So now the question is, what do we bounce? And there's 2 options. There's the Queen of Hearts. There's the Genie. Now, if we decide to take out the Genie or bounce the Genie, that's going to be an entire turn for them, right? They have to pay 4 ink to play the Genie again, and they draw a card. So that feeds our Clarabelle. But if we leave the Queen of Hearts and they have a Madame Medusa, then that Queen of Hearts trades into the muses really well. So we don't want that either. That feels really bad. So ultimately, it leaves us with one choice. We want to, and that one choice being, let's try and protect our queen, or protect our muses. Let's force him to have a crab or force him to have a fox. So let's see. And yep, I bounce that Queen of Hearts. I bounce the muses. and I draw a bunch of cards. There's 4 cards. So I go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we see the Peter Pan come down. All that work for nothing, but that's okay. So now we have another Muses, though, in backup. So that feels good. If we want to do that, we go to 8, which allows us to essentially play Muses, Kit, and Mother Knows Best, which is pretty good. So because what we can do now is we can Kit the Genie, we can Mother Knows Best the Queen of Hearts, and then bounce the Peter Pan. So, and how we do it, it doesn't matter, but essentially get rid of all 3 of those cards. And I should play Kit here. Yeah, here's my big brain, right? So we play the Sail. So now we can ink twice to play the Kit. So we ink the Tipo and the the Tipo and the Sail. Oh no. So that was a huge misplay. There was no reason for me to play that Mother Knows Best over Kit. That was a huge misplay on my part. I lost lore doing that. I lost bouncing 2 characters doing that. Just massive misplay. And yeah, just not good for me. But I do get to draw 5 cards, so that helps ease the pain a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I draw 6. I draw 6 cards. He had 9 cards in hand. So we see a bunch of cards coming down. He's trying to find a way to empty his hand. He goes down to 5 cards in hand. We see ultimately I want to be digging here, right? Because what I want to do here is dig for bounce cards. I need to dig for a song. How Far I'll Go is a good one. So we can use another to dig for another song. You're Welcome, perfect, because now we can bounce 3 characters. 1, How Far I'll Go in Muses, and then 1 more with You're Welcome and 1 more with Muses. So bouncing 3 characters, exactly what I wanted, because now I have 7 ink left over to play Bend to My Will. And this is why the deck is just so good into red purple now, is that they're just not fast enough to gain a lot of lore super quick. So many of their cards can be bounced with Muses, and now they're top decking. And of course they could top deck Be Prepared, which is a bummer, right? But they still have to see that Be Prepared. So ultimately, we'll kind of play. I'm trying to remember. Okay. So we are gonna keep it here for a second. We're gonna watch a little bit more of this because I want to see if I do use the Lady Tremaine stuff, because this is one play that is super. People aren't doing it enough. They're not using it correctly. The ability to play Lady Tremaine and Muses, to be able to just start bouncing Lady Tremaine and play an endless amount of actions. So we take Bend to My Will. Okay, we'll slow it down. I do misplay right here. So I play Lady Tremaine, right? You saw that Lady Tremaine should be right where my dice are. I took back the Bend to My Will, added that to my hand, because Lady Tremaine lets me return an action to my hand. And when I put that down to reveal the action, I think I just put Lady Tremaine back, knowing that I was going to bounce, because what you're going to see here in a second is that I pay, so I get the Louis down, but then you're going to see that I go 2 for Heffalumps and Woozles. So then Heffalumps and Woozles, and you see that I'm searching for the Lady Tremaine, Lady Tremaine there, because I wanted to bounce the Lady Tremaine. So what happened, right? Like, let's pretend I didn't put that Lady Tremaine back in my hand. What happened is I used Lady Tremaine to bring back Bend to My Will. And then I used Heffalumps and Woozles to draw a card and make it so Madame Medusa can't quest. But the main thing I did is bouncing the Lady Tremaine. So I bounced this Lady Tremaine back to my hand, because now I can replay Lady Tremaine to grab a You're Welcome. So now with You're Welcome and Bend to My Will, I have the capability of sending any card back to his hand or back to his deck, forcing him to draw 2, and then forcing him to discard those cards. So just like that, I've made this huge combo piece come back, and then also I can bounce Lady Tremaine back to my hand as many times as I want. So there's that as well. So, all right. So, Friends on the Other Side, pretty good. When he has aggressive, he draws one of his songs. Can't argue with that. All right. So I think that was the majority of it. I'm just gonna spoil it. He ends up drawing 2 B preps, but when I have this many cards, so he clears my entire board with a B prep. You'll see that I do misplay. I am going to bounce cards, and then I forget to bounce the Lady Tremaine. And then when I forget to bounce the Lady Tremaine, he plays B prep the next turn. But yeah, so he plays 2 B preps, clears my board, but I'm ultimately able to just continue to lay down so many characters that I get there, and he doesn't. Yeah, so he gets up to 11. So that's kind of it. So with that being said, those are all the matches. And let's go back to the list really quick.